It was a beautiful afternoon in the Johto region. The sun was shining brightly over the quaint Violet City, my hometown. I planned to go exploring, just like most days, but as usual, my mom warned me to avoid the ruins. She spoke of scary mythical Pokemon, whom I'd never be able to defend myself against. But, as the rebellious child I was, I of course ventured west into the ruins. I was simply interested in what lay beyond. I peered down into the darkness when... Uh-oh. That's when it found me. Or should I say, they found me. The mythical Pokemon from the ruins. They'd found me, but it didn't seem like they had any real interest in fighting. Rather, it seemed more like they wanted to help me. We ventured through the underground, long winding paths with etches of what seemed like the Pokemon themselves on the walls. As they led me to the exit, an idea hatched. These Pokemon, they'd never gotten the recognition they deserve. I didn't even know what they were called. But after graciously helping me out of this awful situation, I was determined to change that fact. I'd never been that interested in taking on the gym challenge, despite there being a gym just north of my house in Violet. But after presenting Pokeballs to them, it was clear these mythicals were ready for the spotlight. Our motley crew of 6 was ready to set forth on a grand adventure towards the Pokemon League, and it was time to see what these strong fighters could accomplish, given the chance. As a kid with no battling experience, I waltzed into the Violet City gym ready to see what my team could do. The first unsuspecting trainer would send out a Pidgey, and now's a great time to introduce R, the Rock-type mythical. What a fitting lead for our first gym. This Pokemon would become our true emotional rock, the one who would stare into the teeth of danger. R completely swept the first 2 gym trainers. But next was the gym leader, Faulkner. His Pidgey quickly falls to R's hidden power, but Pidgeotto would tank several hits and spam Roost before returning a strong Gust. The first appearance of H would lead to the KO, earning us the first gym badge. On our way to Azalea Town, a few trainers stopped us, clearly without the knowledge of the unbridled power of our squad. They were, of course, no match for us, and we'd make our way to the gym, which was closed. Apparently, some goons that called themselves Team Rocket were holding Pokemon captive down in a well. This guy who I met named Kurt broke his back falling into the well? Gosh. Well, I guess that means it's up to us to save these slowpokes then. These runts were clearly caught off guard by our strength and fell easily to H, S, and H, who combined for easy victories. Proton, the self-described scariest and cruelest member of Team Rocket, was no match for us either, with E taking out Zubat and H wiping the floor with coughing. Thanks to our heroics, the Bug-type gym of Azalea was back in business, meaning our team was in for another easy badge. S, our Fire-type, was always the jokester of the team, but they weren't messing around in battle. A few hidden powers would take out Weedle, Kakuna, and Beedrill before we hit the battlefield in doubles format for the first time. The first gym appearances for H, the Ice-type, and Y, the Flying-type, went swimmingly, and we strolled into the gym leader fight to take on Bugsy. Using the weakest type in all of Pokemon was certainly an interesting decision he'd made. S would easily only do a third of Scyther's HP, and a quick attack would kill off Armand the next turn. Surely that was a fluke. He got lucky. That's fine. R would come in with his quad effective attack and get outsped in O-Code by U-turn. Well, Y would remove Metapod from the contest after a couple of hits, although they were hit with some poison damage in the process. Predictably, this meant a quick attack would take them down on the first move from Scyther. H would come in on another U-turn KO, and E took a few turns before dying to a Kakuna? What are we doing here? Was it all a ruse? These were supposed to be the strongest Pokemon in the entire region. How could they lose to such easy opponents? Regardless, that's exactly what they did. Scyther would take the final knockout. I woke back up in the Pokemon Center, dejected and confused. Maybe I overestimated these Mons. Was it even worth trying anymore if they couldn't claim the Bug-type badge? Maybe I just needed to train them up to the level 17 cap of the gym. Even so, they should have been able to win without it, right? This time, H led and was once again hit with a U-turn for the one-shot. Y would come in to take out Metapod before we swapped into E, who would also die to U-turn. Kakuna would quickly fall to Y next, and it was down to just Bugsy's ace. R was really our only hope here. They'd assured me they could withstand a U-turn after training, and they were right, surviving the hit in the red and returning a quad-effective hidden power to claim our second gym badge. R once again kept a level head and did their job. A true professional. Despite our victory, my mind still wandered. I'd never considered the fact that I might actually have to train these Pokemon. They're mythicals. They should know how to win on their own, shouldn't they? As I started towards the next gym location, Goldenrod City, this strange red-haired fellow stopped me in my tracks. We'll call him Unknown, considering I still don't know who he is. Anyway, he didn't believe that we took down the Team Rocket Grunts earlier and wanted to challenge us, which is fine by me. R was still weak from his battle with Scyther, but that didn't matter as he OHKO'd the opponents Ghastly and Zubat before S entered to take care of Bayleaf, which they did after a few turns. Unknown monologued for a bit before storming out after the loss. We entered Ilex Forest and tracked down a couple of Farfetch to help out this lackluster employee, and he thanked us by granting us a hidden machine, which would pair well with our hidden powers. While we wouldn't be using these in battle, H learned Cut to help us continue to traverse the Johto region. We ran into this lady in the forest who was impossibly lost just a couple of steps away from the exit. Regardless, just like they did with me in the ruins, E led the way and showed her out of the woodlands as we followed suit. Another day, another gym, and it was time to see if my wavering confidence was warranted. E shocked Meowth, as did H, and the first trainer was quickly done. A Snubbull and 3 Jigglypuffs were easy targets as we quickly approached the next gym leader, Whitney. She only carried 2 Mons to the fight, a Clefairy who would fall to a clutch critical hit from S, and her ace, Miltank, would be the last one standing in our way. The bulky cow was strong enough to take out H, but not before losing about 2/3 of her HP. She continued to stomp on E, triggering a flinch before a super potion was used. Y swapped in and was hit with the same move a few times, including another flinch before they fell as well. We once again find ourselves with R in the battle, looking for another badge, and I wouldn't suggest stomping on a solid rock. They were whittled down into the red again, but for the second time in a row, R held strong and sent off the final hidden power of the match, granting us our 3rd gym badge in much easier fashion this time around. Whitney sobbed like a child for a few moments before handing over the plain badge. We took out a few more trainers who again didn't stand a chance against our all-star squad as we rolled into Ecruteak City. We strolled into the burned tower and bump into Unknown once more. We lead with H, our psychic type, who sent out a super effective hidden power to take down Ghastly. H doesn't quite one-shot Zubat, but easily removes them from the match after a second Ice-type attack. Heading into the gym, I knew exactly who would be our MVP here. Thanks to the extremely small selection of ghosts in Johto, we would lead with H, who is a great counter to the Gengar line that makes up the entire gym. A couple of handfuls worth of moves from our overall strongest attacker, and we'd arrive at Morty. We lead with E for this battle, saving H for his ace. Ghastly went down quickly, but Haunter would be a different story. A first turn Hypnosis hit left E asleep, followed by a Curse to start taking away 1/3 of their HP each turn. More cheap moves from them left E in rough condition. Y would come in and try to right the ship, but Haunter hit another first turn Hypnosis, followed by a Nightmare and a Curse once again. However, that Curse brought him into the red health until Morty used a Hyper Potion. Luckily though, Y woke up and was able to do solid damage to the opponent before surviving Curse on 2 HP. That was enough to then outspeed Haunter and take them down. The next Haunter wasn't nearly as bad, falling to R in just 2 turns, which would lead to a showdown between 2 aces, Gengar versus H. A Mean Look was a completely wasted turn as H fired in a strong move, but Gengar hit an immediate Hypnosis to follow, the 3rd straight hit on a 60% accuracy move. This threw a massive wrench into our plans. A stab, super effective Shadow Ball doesn't quite kill, And H woke up immediately, firing in one final hidden power to clutch the gym badge. Boy, that could have gone downhill really quickly had H not woken up right away. Tremendous focus and determination. Maybe my initial assessment of these guys was wrong. The drive to win is certainly there. As we arrived in Olivine City, the gym was completely empty and we were pointed west. Apparently, we needed to run an errand for the gym leader. Cyanwood City was now our destination, which is actually home to another gym, the fighting one led by Chuck. Begrudgingly, I agreed to make this trip only because I could knock out another gym in the process. We picked up the medicine that led to this excursion and headed directly into the gym. Once again, H would have an easy time in here, with double damage stab attacks on every single Pokemon housed in here. Chuck only has 2 Mons, some gym leader. The lead Primeape was Ocode, and Poliwrath was taken down to 20% health before a Surf would take the knockout, but he would come in and outspeed the opponent to claim the badge. We quickly returned to Olivine City, and man, we're suddenly blowing through these gyms. After delivering the medicine that Jasmine requested, her gym trainers allowed us to simply pass through and go directly into the final fight. S is a perfect counter to her steel types, taking quick KOs on both Magnemites on her team. Steelix wasn't a perfect matchup, but S insisted on staying in, and that was a great call. They took out the final Pokemon in a few turns to add yet another badge to our collection. We trekked east to the tiny town of Mahogany, where we're alerted to some sort of disturbance at the Lake of Rage just north of the town. With the rain pouring down, we set out to the middle of the lake and found this weird-looking Gyarados who was easily taken out by E. Is that really what all the ruckus was about? This guy named Lance asked for my help, and I figured, why not? He seemed nice after all. After a lot of bobbing and weaving through grunt battles, we're able to reach the strange machine that Lance was theorizing about earlier. One of the heads of Team Rocket, Ariana, was the final line of defense, but Lance's Dragonite, along with E, were really no match for their team. Lance and I eventually take down the machine, and he mentions how difficult it may be for us to become the champion. Does he know something I don't? Does he see a glaring weakness of these mythicals that I don't see anymore? No matter. We have to keep moving forward. After all, these Pokemon saved my life. This is the least I can do. We were once again Oh, what's that? Oh, you're right. I was supposed to stop halfway through the video to mention that channel memberships are now available. If you enjoy my content and are interested in supporting me, consider joining. You'll receive behind-the-scenes posts, recognition at the end of every video, 24 hours early access to all new challenges, and a few more things. And if you're more of a Patreon person, that's also linked below, and both will have the same benefits. And while you're down there, why not also hit the subscribe button? You know you want to. Okay, was that good enough? Cool? Alright. As I was saying, we're once again gym bound, this time against the Ice-type Mons of Mahogany. S was obviously a solid counter to a lot of these, using their fire attacks, and E would be called upon when squaring up against any ice-water types. A few super simple fights out of the way, we reached the leader, Price. His seal felt E in one hit, Piloswine would be next, and would OHKO S with a critical hit Ice Fang. H came in to chip away and, despite a miss, still took out the hairy pig. A couple final electric moves from E would take out Dugong, and the team was truly on a roll, claiming our 7th gym badge and our 4th in what felt like just a few minutes. But just on cue, there were rumblings of Team Rocket taking over Goldenrod City, which had put the gym challenge on hold. So we'd head that way and do some beating down on grunts before another encounter with Unknown. He's simply just a very angry fella who wants to beat us in battle, so an impromptu showdown it was. Y was caught as the lead, but after becoming confused, we'd swap into R. They survived a bite, but couldn't quite take the kill, meaning they'd fall to the next dark move. H cleaned up what was left of Golbat as we'd swap to the other H to deal with Haunter, who fell in a single hit. Sneasel is really a scary Pokemon to face, with a lot of speed and super effective dark moves against our entire team, but S was able to eat a feint attack to at least take Sneasel to about 15% health. Another feint attack doesn't quite kill E, who returns a knockout blow. With S already down, our next best option against Magnemite was H, who fought through paralysis and confusion to remove the electric steel type. With our team looking pretty weak, H would be sent in to face Meganium. Unknown did his best Joker impression as Y whittled down his starter before being taken out by a strong pedal dance. Luckily, with a type like Grass, we had yet another super effective option with H, who would finally finish off this fight. A metric ton of grunt battles later, we reach the top of the radio tower, where another Team Rocket higher up is waiting for us. Archer has a pretty scary team for us, with an ace of Houndoom that outspeeds our whole team with dark moves. But first was Houndour, who was pitted against Y. Luckily, our mythical survives a bite to knock out the dog, and H takes down Coughing easily, leading to a clash of titans, Houndoom and R. A feint attack can't take down our Rock, who returned a strong hidden power to take out Houndoom in one foul swoop. Our heroics once again clear out Team Rocket, which leads us to make our way towards the final gym. After sliding around on ice for a few hours, we arrive in Blackthorn City. Our toughest task yet, the Dragon Gym, was next on deck. To my surprise, the trainers were really no challenge. Dratini's and Seedra's were easy tasks for H and E. But Claire would be a different beast. She leads with Gyarados, who is obviously quad weak to E's electric, but they survived the first shock. That's actually perfect for us though. Even though E was hit with a strong bite, Claire would opt to heal her fish instead of taking the free kill. Hyper Potion wasted, E falls, but leaves Gyarados extremely weak. Another big chunk of damage, this time to S, led to Claire's lead going down. Her two Dragonairs were no problem for H and Y, which left just Kingdra. With no weaknesses to exploit, our leader, H, would come in to face them. A smokescreen allowed a free hit, but Hydro Pump is a very scary move. But it missed, allowing us to take another free hit. And it attempted a Hyper Beam, also missed, giving us a completely free kill on Claire's ace, the final Pokemon in the entire gym challenge. We were told that someone wanted to see us after our victory, so we headed back to Ecruteak City. A trip to the dance theater revealed 5 kimono girls on stage. They were our final tests to see if our team was truly ready for the Pokemon League. 5 evolutions in a row, starting with Umbreon, the extremely specially defensive Mon who carries the scariest type for our team, Dark. It started off the battle with Confuse-Ray on Y, who immediately hits themselves in confusion. Dark Pulse did a number before a hidden power did a small chunk to the opponent. Shadow Ball spells death for Y as S comes in. S continues the chip damage as they're hit by Dark Pulse, surviving in the red but leaving Umbreon under half as they fell. H delivers a few hidden powers, but couldn't kill off the Dark type before falling to another Shadow Ball. R takes a strong Dark Pulse, but in return finally takes out Umbreon. There's no chance to heal in between battles, so yeah, this is not good. Espeon is another extremely specially defensive Pokemon that we have no super effective moves against. After a few turns of trading blows, H gets taken out by Swift. R came in to clean up, but we have just 2 Mons left to face 3 more evolutions. We were forced to lead with E against Flareon, who was immediately hit by a Will-O-Wisp before a crit Fire Blast KO'd. R, who had under half health, was our final hope. The light at the end of the tunnel was quickly fading away as Flareon's Fire Blast took down R. For the first time since the second gym, the team faced defeat. We simply weren't fit to be champions, were we? Lance was right. The team was completely dejected and defeated. As I stood outside of the theater, soaking in the defeat, I thought back upon our journey. I tried to remember what it was like to see the team in high spirits, and I realized that I hadn't really seen that since our expedition began, and it dawned on me. I'd carried such ignorance and, quite frankly, arrogance into this challenge, simply throwing our team into the fire expecting them to come out on top no matter what. I'd ignored the entire point of what it means to be a trainer. The old man in the Dragon's Den, the Kimono girls, and even Unknown, they'd all tried to open my eyes, but I just couldn't see it. I peered down at the demoralized team, And that was when I realized that they could do this. They just needed a leader. After talking to the team, we hatched a plan and walked back into the theater. This time, we led with H. Umbreon was still an extremely tough opponent for us, but H did solid damage before falling. S was next and brought the opponent down to a sliver before going down as well. Y would come in to finish off Umbreon. Still brutal, but we had a plan. Y was forced to lead against Espeon, and they did about a third, and then their second hitted power crit Espeon, knocking them out. That's what I'm talking about. Flareon returned a crit, however, which took out Y. But R was able to come in and this time outsped Okoing the fire type. Jolteon was up next, hitting R with Thunder Wave to start out. Unfortunately, they got a paralysis hit and 2 Thunderbolts would take down R. H delivered a super strong hidden power, taking out Jolteon, which left just Vaporeon. After doing almost half, H fell to Surf, but our final Mon was E, the only Pokemon who looked like they still believed in me. And now, that feeling was truly mutual. And a singular hidden power took down the final Eevee, not only winning us the battles, but also proving to our team that we're just that. We're a team. Actually, no. We're a family. As we strolled through the surprisingly empty Victory Road, we meet up with Unknown for the final time. He claims to have scared off all of the Ace trainers, but that wouldn't be our fate. S led against Sneasel and took a tough feint attack before delivering a super effective fire move that Oko'd. H would come in and do the same to Haunter. Our shiny H just missed the Oko on Golbat and fell to Bite. R would clean up, fighting through confusion. S came back out for their second one-shot, this time against Magneton, and Y took exactly half damage from Petal Dance, meaning they would end up following the next attack. That was no issue though, as H took out Meganium. Kadabra was the last one left for Unknown, but as usual, R came through when it mattered, finishing off our rival and sending us straight into the Pokemon League. This was it, the Elite Four. The Mythicals were on their way to being able to write their names in the history books. First up was Will, the Psychic Trainer. We led with, who else? R to face Xatu. They steal our hidden power, which ended up being not very effective, and ours was the opposite. Will wasted a full restore before another weak me first led to the KO from R. We left them in for the second Xatu, who did take the knockout, but not before losing over half health. The bird sent out a Confuse Ray that immediately paid off, and Ominous Wind did a big chunk to H, but they fought through confusion to take the kill. H outspeeds Executor before dropping to Psychic. Y swapped in to finish off the tree, and Jinx was next. Y stayed in to get some chip damage before getting put to sleep and killed with Psychic. The small amount of damage should allow S to take the KO, but they were hit with an immediate Lovely Kiss. Thankfully, they woke up after just a couple of turns and didn't kill with hidden power. Psychic would take them down as Lovely Kiss hit for a third straight time when H swapped in. A few Ice Punches took out H as they were still snoozing, leaving E as the only Pokemon left for us. But lucky for us, Jinx opted to not go for Lovely Kiss, instead hitting an Ice Punch. Avoiding the freeze, E comes through to take down the Ice type as Will's final Mon, Slowbro, would enter. Just 2 more super effective hidden powers would finish off Will, putting us a quarter of the way through. Koga was a significantly easier matchup for us, with H Okoing Spinarak, Muck, Crobat, and Venomoth, with S's quad effective fire taking out Fortress. Halfway there. Bruno was also a great matchup for our squad. H took out Hitmontop immediately, as well as Hitmonlee. H swapped in to take on Hitmonchan, as they took a Fire Punch before returning a critical hit to knock out the Boxer. Onix was nearly KO'd by H, but led to Bruno wasting their full restore, and a High Roll would take the KO right after. But Champ came out as the final Mon, going up against H, who didn't quite one-shot. Another full restore and another High Roll would finish off Bruno, winning us the third of 4 battles. Next up, however, was by far the toughest matchup in the entire game. Karen. And and gosh, that name fits her for sure. This woman led with a double team spamming Confuse Ray using gimmick Pokemon named Umbreon. Yeah, the same Mon that wrecked our entire team a few minutes ago. But we came out of that battle stronger than ever. It was time to show what we'd become. We led with S and immediately hit ourselves in confusion twice in a row as Umbreon set up double team and a feint attack. Our second time connecting was a crit and we lived a second feint attack because of our held Citrus Berry. S missed their final attempted move and fell to payback. Y was next and they connected with their first attack before another Confuse Ray was sent out. We swapped to H to avoid confusion as Karen used a full restore. Another crit, this time from H, would set us up well as our Ice attacker hit on all 3 tries before going down. Y would swap back in and missed before Confuse Ray yet again led directly to a confusion hit. Feint attack procced our Citrus Berry and Hidden Power didn't kill. We just needed to hit one more time. But instead, Y hit themselves again, leading to payback, knocking out a third Pokemon against Karen's lead. What a scummy strat from an Elite Four member. As only half of our team remained, this was looking grim. E swapped in and missed. And shocker, Confuse Ray yet again was Umbreon's first move. If E didn't kill here, it was over. But through confusion, that's exactly what they do, finally taking out the lead. Gengar would be an easy one-shot for H as Murkrow would enter. E was our counter here, also taking the KO. Karen's ace, Houndoom, was next up. E stayed in to do as much damage as they could, which they would with a critical hit. Dark Pulse was an easy knockout of E, but that allows a free swap into R. They don't outspeed like our Lightning, but a Crunch doesn't kill. But neither does a Hidden Power. However, our held Custop Berry allows R to move first and take out the ace. That leaves only Vileplume, who falls in one hit, sending us into the Champions Room. To my surprise, Lance stood atop the stage. He and his dragons were all that stood between us and the championship. He leads with Gyarados, who is quad weak to our lead E. Our first move, Oko's Gyarados. R would come in to face a Redactyl and started it out with a strong hit to do over half. A super effective crunch was set in and R lives on 11 HP. He sends out another rock move, taking out the fossil Pokemon. But R wasn't done as he's quad effective on Charizard, who falls to another Hidden Power. Back-to-back KOs on a shred of health. Classic R, stoic as ever. Lance's final 3 Mons were all Dragonites, and I'm sure you can guess it. Our Sparkly H hit the battlefield with their Ice-type attacks. 1, 2, and all 3 dragons fell to the quad-effective ice, finishing off Lance and crowning us as the new champions of Johto. What a journey it was. After all of the ups and downs, the Mythicals finally claimed their rightful spot in the Pokemon Hall of Fame. After a few days finally back in my own bed in Violet City, something felt off. The crew just didn't seem right. For all the joy that they'd expressed after winning the championship, they seemed empty, longing for something. Maybe they'd feel the same relief I did after returning home. My heart pounding, I walked back into the ruins. This time, I took the intended route to the bottom. The Mythicals were shaking in their Pokeballs. I knew what I had to do. I brought out the team one last time. Y, the team's motherly figure throughout. H, the special one who still shines bright. S, who always cleared the tension with their jokes. Some much needed stress relief. R, the true solid rock. They just never wavered. E, happy-go-lucky and always ready to go. They're the one who found me in the first place, and they never gave up on me, even when they probably should have. And H. Strength beyond words. They led when I wasn't fit to be the leader. It was time to say goodbye. It was time for them to go home. Would I ever see them again? Unknown. But what I do know is that they'll be remembered forever as champions of Johto. Thanks for watching.